It was a nice final exhibition win for Syracuse basketball tonight, and on Monday, it's for real.
You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into Locked On Syracuse. I'm Jackson Holzer, and thank you for making us your first listen of every single day here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And on tonight's mini podcast, we are recapping Syracuse's 96-51 exhibition win over Slippery Rock tonight. Overall, I would say it was a fantastic performance. Granted, it's a Division II team and it's the exhibition. I understand, but it was a really nice performance. They really stepped up. And Monday, it's for real. On this episode, we're going to go over what I think the strengths of the team are going to be based on maybe what we've seen in the two preseason games. And coming up later on, also, we got to talk about maybe where they're going to be a little bit weaker at this season. So stay tuned for that as well as a couple of announcements later on at the end of the podcast. I think Syracuse basketball, and I know it's two preseason games, I understand, but I think Syracuse is going to be a pretty good shooting team this season. Now, shooting has been something, especially last season, that they were kind of lacking, right? Chris Bell was really the only shooter on the team last year, but this year, I think this team has a number of good shooters. It's four players who can really shoot the lights out, and then I'm going to throw in one bonus at the end, so stay tuned for the bonus right here. Obviously, it starts with Chris Bell returning from last season. He was second in three-point percentage in the ACC last year. He doesn't need a lot of space. He really doesn't. It was nice in the preseason that he looked like Chris Bell. That's the best way to put it. Like, you can't overreact to preseason, especially when they're playing Division II teams, but when you're seeing him make the same moves in exhibition contests that he did at the end of last year, I think that's got to be encouraging. And again, he was very good last season from beyond the arc. So obviously he's going to lead Syracuse as far as shooting the basketball from range. And one of the reasons why I think Syracuse could be a pretty good shooting team this year. Next up, you got J.J. Starling. I think he shot the ball pretty well tonight. What did he do? 8 points, 2 of 5 from three-point land, 3 of 6 overall from the field. He didn't play a whole lot. A lot of the starters didn't play a whole lot of projected starters. He hit a corner three early on in this game. It was a 4-point play. Now, he couldn't capitalize it, but still, it was nice to see there. He shot 36% from three in the second half of last season. So if he can replicate that and all signs in the preseason look like his shot just looked better, right? That's the biggest takeaway from J.J. Starling in the preseason. His shot, it looked cleaner, it looked smoother, it looked like how it did in the second half of last season. So you're just hoping that it can translate for the entirety of a season, right? That's the next step for J.J. Starling, and I'm pretty optimistic he can do that. Once again, I think Syracuse basketball, their big strength, honestly, might be shooting on offense. They can really shoot the lights out. Elijah Moore, he was pretty effective against Slippery Rock. We still haven't seen that celebration, that bullseye celebration, but it's preseason games, right? He's a 4-star true freshman, ESPN top 100 player, I want to say. He had 2 threes in the first 10 minutes of this game. Overall, Elijah Moore, I'm pulling up the stats right now. Elijah Moore was 4 of 9 from three-point land against Slippery Rock. Look, if he's going to shoot 4 of 9 from 3 over every game of the regular season, we'll take that. That's well over 40%. I don't think he'll shoot 9 threes a game, but you get the idea, right? It's a good percentage. So he can obviously shoot. That's what he was built to be coming into the season. All signs say he'll probably be able to carve out a role, and this team's going to need him, right? And Donnie Freeman. Donnie Freeman we'll talk about on tomorrow's podcast, but he can score on all 3 levels. He can shoot the ball pretty nicely as well, especially for someone who's listed as a 6'9" power forward. I mean, the broadcast was calling him 6'11". I mean, I'm not going to complain if he's actually 6'11", but you get the idea. So they got 4, in my opinion, really, really solid shooters. Jair Davis, he's not the bonus one in a second, but Jair Davis also had a couple threes in this one, which was nice to see. He was 27% at Delaware last season, but hey, if he can increase that, that would be nice. But the bonus one, and perhaps, sorry for kind of burying the lead here, is that Eddie Lampkin hit a three in this game. How about that? Eddie Lampkin hit a three at the end of the first half against Slippery Rock tonight. He drilled it. And oh, by the way, he has never even attempted a three in a regular season or postseason game that he has been in college. He's a senior, okay? Senior center, transfer from Colorado. This is not someone who we're expecting to have a whole lot of range, but he attempted one in the first preseason game. He attempts another tonight. Actually, he attempted 2 3-pointers tonight, and he made one of them. So he was 50% tonight. Take that for what it's worth. But that was pretty cool. It was off a nice cross-court pass from Donnie Freeman. That was probably, honestly, the highlight of the night. Donnie Freeman hitting Eddie Lampkin for a three. So that was pretty cool. I also think this team is just going to be overall on offense. They're going to play with a lot of pace, and they're going to move the ball. I think last season, it was pretty obvious what the Syracuse offense was for those that need a refresher. It was an ISO ball-heavy offense. That's what it was. Judah Mintz had the ball in his hands, and it ran through him, and that was that. There was not a whole lot of ball movement. Maybe it was because of the personnel, honestly. They didn't have a whole... I think this team has more depth than it had last season. They didn't have a whole lot of depth, so you really needed Judah Mintz to have the ball in his hands. But this team, I think it's deeper. It's obviously got more players that can really play, and they're going to move the ball a lot, and that creates a more effective offense. So overall, a really nice exhibition performance. I mean, they didn't start off particularly well. It was kind of a game in the first 10 minutes, but as the final score indicates, it was 96-51 in the end. So you really can't complain. But coming up, I think there could be a weakness here or there for Syracuse basketball this upcoming season, so we'll talk about it. Basketball season is basically here. I mean, the NBA has already tipped off college basketball. They're playing exhibition games. And for Syracuse basketball, the season officially starts on Monday night against Lemoyne. And the way I get tickets for basketball games is by using Gametime. Gametime is a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And my favorite feature is the curated deals. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app. Create an account and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime. I think from watching this game that there was really only one negative takeaway from it. Once again, Syracuse dominated Slippery Rock 96-51 in their second and final exhibition game this season. I think an area where they could struggle is defending against quick guards, because we saw, particularly early on, it was really the first 10 minutes of the first half, and you're not going to be perfect, so I'm not going to get on them all that too much. But we saw some Slippery Rock players get by their men. We saw that happen. They got by their man at times. That's not the greatest thing in the world. And particularly when they're going up against those quick guards and it's pick and roll. And when Naheem McLeod especially is on the floor, Naheem McLeod is an excellent shot blocker. I mean, he's 7'4". It makes a lot of sense, but doesn't have the greatest foot speed. Eddie Lampkin, who's projected to be the starting center, isn't exactly known as a great defender either. So if you force those centers to come up and play high pick and roll, I think that could be a weakness for Syracuse basketball this upcoming season. I mean, if I'm overreacting, you can leave a comment in the comment section below, but that was really the only negative I really took from the game. Aside from that, it was a pretty clean performance from Syracuse basketball from start to finish. 96-51 over Slippery Rock tonight. We went over the strengths. For the most part, just one little nitpicky weakness. As far as what's coming up on the podcast in the future, tomorrow we will have a full basketball podcast. We are going over the Syracuse basketball front court. We did the back court on Tuesday. Friday, there will be a Poll Friday 10 to 15 minute podcast. The most impactful transfer for Syracuse basketball this upcoming season. But guys, don't worry. Football season is still here, right? Last time I checked, they're still playing football at this time. Syracuse football plays Virginia Tech Saturday at noon. So, of course, on this podcast, there will be a full podcast reaction to the game, hopefully in celebration of a victory. It's always nice doing those podcasts when they win. It's not really that fun when they lose, to be honest with you. Actually, take it back. I always have fun doing this podcast, but, I want the team to win. All right? So that's what's coming up on Saturday. Syracuse, Virginia Tech post-game football reaction. And then, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do on Sunday or Monday. Probably one full podcast in the mix there, but Monday night, Syracuse basketball, it's for real. That's right. These two exhibition games, Clarion, Slippery Rock, it was nice. It was nice to see all the players again. It was nice to see all the new players that Syracuse basketball has this season. It's more than half the roster. But it didn't count. It doesn't count for anything. Syracuse basketball, I believe, lost an exhibition game in 2009. So at the end of the day, whether you win or you lose, an exhibition game means what? It doesn't technically count in the standings. It does matter, right? You're playing for playing time, of course, if you're a player, you're trying to work out the kinks, you're experimenting. It does matter, but it doesn't count for the standings. But Monday night against Lemoyne, it counts. That's right. Syracuse basketball regular season is back on Monday night. So there will be a post-game reaction following that game. Once again, thank you all so much for tuning into this mini post-game reaction to Syracuse's 96-51 exhibition victory over Slippery Rock. It was a clean game, really, from the 10-minute mark of the first half to the end of it. It was a nice game overall. Good to see everyone back. But Monday night, folks, it is for real. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. If you like this video, click that like button. And of course, if you really liked it, subscribe to the channel, turn on those notifications so you know right away when I am dropping the next podcast. For one final time, Monday night, it's for real.